It might have been chilly in Davos, Switzerland at the recent World Economic Forum, but South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said he expected warm relations with the United States under President Donald Trump.
President Trump is a great deal maker, and so am I. So we will be able to work together.
But not everyone shares his optimism. Analysts predict that Pretoria's cozy relations with Russia, neutral stance on the Ukraine war, and International Court of Justice case against Israel over Gaza won't sit well with the new U.S. administration.
Now, for the past administration, the consequences of South Africa's relationship with Russia, with China, with Iran, and, parenthetically, with the International Court of Justice, were seen as irritants, and they were seen as things that make the climb up the hill harder, but they weren't seen as breaking point questions. Under the Trump administration, they certainly will, as the State Department, be watching that very carefully.
South Africa is also a staunch member of BRICS, the group of emerging nations that includes Russia and China. Secretary of State Rubio has called out South Africa in the past for its warm relations with Beijing.
Now we get the Trump-Vance administration, which is starting very clearly on the foreign policy of America first. So it will mean that if South Africa is pursuing quote-unquote BRICS first policy, it will run counter to this foreign policy and it will be in trouble.
Some Republicans have already called for a full review into relations with South Africa. Some analysts say the US could take punitive action against South Africa for not being aligned with Washington on foreign policy, such as ending trade benefits.
Yeah, I think that this sort of the length of the tether that the US will have is shorter. It's going to be less tolerant of countries that, for example, are major recipients of US aid, but vote against the US at the United Nations.
Hartley says this could either increase US influence in Africa,
or alternatively, it could push these countries out of the US sphere and into embracing alternatives.
Analysts say the US will likely continue with the Lobito Corridor, a railway project to transport critical minerals from Zambia and the Democratic Republic of Congo to Africa's West Atlantic coast. Another big move could be if the US recognizes Somaliland, a self-governing region within Somalia. But all in all, says retired diplomat Spector, Africa is not that high on the agenda.
As far as Africa is concerned, let's be honest and let's be fair about it. Africa is very far down the totem pole of the places and issues that the Trump administration is going to pay attention to.
For his first international trip, Rubio is heading to Panama. Kate Bartlett, VOA News, Johannesburg, South Africa.